A guy had asked, what was a good progression blocking for an 8U team from basic to elite?
Hmm.
And that really opens it up because it's still a young age.
Yeah, it really does. And I think that you are the master of that. So I'm gonna let you speak to that because
Oh,
you know
goodness.
way more about that than I do.
A good progression, it really depends on a lot of factors.
It's good to see you. This has been fun. It is a highlight of my week, and it's cool to share knowledge. And you're such a knowledgeable guy. It's just fun to steal ideas from you and to
Oh,
learn.
well, yeah, I appreciate it. I love talking to you too. It's been a lot of fun. Look forward to doing more of these. We've gotten great response from some of our comments. So, yeah, I guess maybe we should start out with that first question that we got on our last blocking. I guess this is blocking part two, right?
Blocking part two. We can get into parent issues. I mean, however it goes how
Yeah,
it goes.
yeah. Somebody brought up crazy parent stuff this week, which is always fun. And actually, Dr. Phil wanted to put me on a show about a year ago, but I was too scared to do it.
Okay, so hold
Afraid I
on. You
would
have
say
to go
something.
into that. You have to go into that about Dr. Phil.
It was just the producer, trying to get me to get on the show to talk about crazy sports parents because they had some other folks. And uh, I'm so open about talking about things. I was just worried that I was gonna say something, that the world today is
Say too
crazy.
much.
Yeah.
You didn't want to say too much. I get it.
No,
I
no,
get
but that
that.
was interesting. It was interesting. They were trying to get me for about 2 weeks, and I was like I talked to my wife. I was like, "I don't know.
Mm,
That's a sketchy topic.
mhm.
Us coaches can talk about it together."
Oh, for sure. We could talk about it in private and things that nature. And on our podcast, we can go into some different things. But like a national television show, like that's.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
that was a little scary, so I had to politely say no. But that was neat that I'd written an article about it, and so they tried to track me down.
mhm.
So yeah, so we got a great question on their YouTube post from our last part one blocking podcast.
Mhm.
The guy had asked, "What was a good progression blocking for an 8U team from basic to elite?"
Mm.
And that really opens it up because it's still a young age.
Yeah, it really does. And I think that you are the master of that. So I'm gonna let you speak to that because
Oh,
you know
goodness.
way more about that than I do.
A good progression, it really depends on a lot of factors. Uh, One, of course, is the age. I mean, 8U is already tough. If you've got, young 8Us, they're 7, they're still not ready. I don't feel like 7, 5, 6, and 7U is still like herding cats. They're kind of, where's the popsicle kind of thing. They're more,
Where's the popsicle? I
where's
like that.
mom?
Where's the
I'm getting
popsicle? Where's mom?
candy. What have you got for me? Oh, this is fun. Oh, there's a lizard,
Mhm.
kind of thing. So 8U, the older ones to 9U, I feel like okay, you can start getting into it. And it also depends on, are you a rec league or a travel league select where you've got elite athletes versus kids that maybe dad signed them up or forcing them into it? And then you've got like this practice time issue. Do you have 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 4 or 5 days a week? So I think those factors kind of add in what I would call basic to elite. Do you have anything else to add? I think those are the main kind of.
Yeah, I think that's it. I'm learning more about youth football this year than I ever knew. I didn't know some guys it's 5 days a week, some guys it's 3, some guys it's 2, some
Yeah.
guys it's 4, uh, and all that plays into it. And like you were saying, like the all-star versus rec, that's a whole different thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great.
that's been a whole different thing. Now I've coached select travel, and I've coached a lot of rec, competitive rec. And so and it really depends when you get into this, to me, is the athletic experience, their skill level, um, and the time you have. I think if we just take rec guys, because I've been doing rec, competitive rec for the last 15 years. Uh, and we only get 2 days of practice a week and then a game. And that's very difficult to get everything in that you really want. Uh, One, we don't get the athletes to do a lot of things with. So we at 8U, we're trying to keep it fairly basic. We'll down block, which I call jaw or God gap on down, because that's a very simple angle blocking scheme. It's easy to learn. You're not having to teach too much there, and everybody can get it. And they're not having to go through a rule, or you don't have separate rules for backside, play side kind of stuff. And we don't get a lot of athletes at guards that can pull. So we're not really
Right.
at 8U.
Right. Yeah.
At rec, I'm not instituting pulling yet because I used to pull in middle school, high school, and so I'm kind of excuse me, pee wee in middle school, perfectionist with pulling. If they're in the way for your back, it doesn't make sense to pull if they're just getting in that way. So
Mhm.
we don't do that. So at basic, we're doing like a down block, maybe God, and maybe a wedge, because that's a
Mhm.
simple thing to get the whole team to block. And and then a pass pro where we're just kind of taking a step and blocking kind of
Mm.
gap on outside. So there may be 3 calls in total
Mhm.
and not a lot of pulling. Now, of course, if you get the athlete in rec and you've got a third string fullback and you've got that ability, you definitely want to install that. So I would say for me, that's kind of the basic what we're going to try to do. 3 calls down, kind of God, wedge, pass pro, whatever we're going to put in there. So that's what I've got. What do you think of? Am I too
So
basic there?
no, so I'm laughing because as a high school head coach and high school O-line coach, we carried about the same amount.
Oh,
There wasn't much difference. Like there really wasn't. We maybe carried another protection and like a man on scheme, like a belly scheme some
yeah,
years, but that is about it. And it's
yeah.
so interesting to hear, okay, that really isn't that much different. Like that's not I mean, I'm getting kids sometimes at high school level that have never played football. So you're trying to teach them something quick because they have to play for you pretty fast.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up. A friend of mine who I've been talking to about 3 years through my Zoom consulting calls that runs my systems, he went to middle school, and he's seeing that because there's so many kids and so many teams, and, uh, he doesn't have focused on certain talented kids because he's having to coach this whole myriad of kaleidoscope of football IQ, that it's been more difficult to install and get things done. So I never thought about it that way. So that's interesting that you bring that up.
Yeah, because I mean, you got kids that play and they're drilling something behind me. You can kind of hear it in the
Yeah, that's
microphone
all right.
doing some work. Um, but you got kids in high school who maybe they're only playing for the first time this year,
Right.
like their 10th grade year, 11th grade year. So you're trying to just get them ready to play.
So they're little
And
8-year-olds that are in big bodies.
right, they're 8-year-olds in big bodies, and you're not trying to overcomplicate it, and then you're just trying to get them ready to go because you don't get as many padded practices these days or practice time.
Right.
So it's just important that you have simple schemes, you practice those so they can go execute. And that's what I found in my time as a high school coach. It's so interesting how they're very similar. That is very, very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and then so let's say that you've got now a travel select team and say you've got top tier athletes and they've all played since 6, so they've got this is their 3rd season, 6, 7. This 8U is gonna be their 3rd season, and let's pretend that since we're going to elite, they've been coached well. Me or some of my friends or you have had these guys that really know O-line and technique, and, they've been progressing well. You've drafted, you've recruited, you've gotten rid of some, so they're all top tier kinda now. So now it's fun because, You can do a lot of stuff. I mean, we have, and I know this is, some people are going to call me crazy. We'll have 6 to 8 calls that we can throw in that we will do. And then also, you've got some pulling calls and things. So I think when you have an elite group and it's a travel team, I know a lot of double wing guys are pulling guard tackle, backside TKO stuff. So you should expect to do that. You should expect to double guard pull. Your H or fullback should be in there. And at 9U, I was pulling a tight end around on some plays, and maybe even a play side tackle that it was uncovered. You could scoop him outside, not pull the guard. They'd come off on that. So I would start expecting that at an elite level 8 if you've got this experienced group that you've had for a while. So I would expect that on the pulling side. How about you?
Yeah, I've had years where we pulled a lot and years where we didn't, and that was all
Yeah, it
dependent
goes
upon the size of the
exactly. I
line,
think that's
right?
yeah, I agree.
I mean, their mobility and then your backs, but mainly your line, right? How big are they? How agile are they? Uh, one year we were huge, so we didn't pull really at all. Or we tried to at the beginning of the year, and then we were like, "What are we doing? this is this. It looks good on paper and it's fun, but we have big guys, so let's just base block, down block, reach block, and but if you have years you're smaller, you should use your angles, use your jaw block. How did you come up with the term jaw? I like that. That's really cool. It's in your material, and I think it's really neat how
Yeah.
you came up with that.
Well, so I guess it was about 10 years ago. So I was already 20 seasons then. And I had an 8U team with a lot of 7U that were mixed in first year players. And I was starting to go bald that season, I think is when it started, because I was trying to teach them the God progression, inside gap, on, down. And I was doing, look, you're going to point, you'll say yes or no, yes or no, yes or no, right on God. And I was going through and I was getting the deer in the headlights. And I was freaking I was like, this is the first time ever this has happened, it just sometimes you get that, right? I mean, it's just they're not going to conform to what you want. So you've got to scramble. So I was sitting there and I was like, and I was doing it with my hands. I'm like, guys, God, we're just going to go like this. That's how it works. And I was going, this is like a crocodile. We're going to cry. We're going to croc. And I'm like, it's a
That is
jaw. And it
beautiful.
just came out. And then they all go, it's jaws. We're going to eat up the defense. And I'm like, yes. And then they
Yes,
did it.
that's
And I was
it.
like, we're off to the
Yes.
races.
Mm, that's so interesting because that's a visual. When I first heard you talk about it or saw you do a video on it, I thought, oh, I've thought that my whole career, but I just couldn't put it into those terms. And that's just really neat how your brain works to put it into that. That's really, really
Yeah, it
interesting.
just came down. It came out, and what's funny is I had never I'd done God good, all the golf, gold, godly, all these different. I had never heard, or I've probably heard it, but I didn't like it. Didn't hit me. Gap down backer. Uh, I'd never like implemented that, or really, I don't know why, but jaw or jaw hunt is gap down backer. It really is, because on jaw, and like what I tell the kids on our third or fourth step, when you've gone down and there's nobody within a gap and a half or two, you're going to go hunt. So it becomes gap down backer anyway. And so it's funny that that progression all kind of got there. We're all doing the same things, just the words and how we're teaching it are a little bit different. Because I know the kids could not probably come up with gap down backer because they couldn't do gap on. I mean, you know, so
Yeah, no, I mean, they're 8U, right? So they got down backer. What do you mean?
yeah,
And
they're
so
like,
like,
what? They couldn't even, yeah. So So yeah, that's how I came up with jaw, and it just really worked out. And of course, it's a cool graphic,
Mhm,
and like you said, it is. And we were already doing the wedge, which is like this because we were talking about wedge,
mhm,
and then we were
mhm,
like this. It's just inverted, and so they it really worked out. It's like, look, when we do jaw, it's we're eating up the defense, and it's a flying jaw wedge versus
mm.
the wedge, and it just seemed to work out better verbally and in their minds. So yeah, that's how we got to that. And I've kept using it, and people have picked it up because it is a simple way to teach it.
I also think the wedge blocking is one of the easiest and best blocks in football. I think that's short yardage. That's gold right there. That's a gold mine.
Yeah, yeah. So I know everybody's, I guess this gets back to the rec thing. You know, I love that A gap trap, but
Oh
I don't
yeah,
have the
beautiful
guards
play.
that can do it. So the wedge works
Right.
out for any A gap gut play.
Mhm, mhm.
And
And
the oh,
I was just gonna say trap can get funny, like if people play shades or two eyes, you have to have some calls and but wedge hits in the same spot and it's much easier to teach than
it
as
is, it
opposed to
is,
trap.
it is. I'm glad you said that because everybody's like, oh no, trap is easier. And I'm like, what? I mean, people are like, "Well, I'm having trouble with trap." I mean, in some of these other forums, and I'm like, "Well, just wedge it." I mean, quit trying to make it fancy. I mean, who's the Ohio State coach? Was it Woody Hayes that talked about? Is it Woody Hayes? Is he the basketball
If you're
coach?
talking run game Ohio State, I'm assuming it's Woody Hayes.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
assuming
So
that's
he
who you're
talked
talking about.
about pulling and trapping. And if you can't do it, you just need to bag it. I mean, it's a waste of time. So that's what I
Mhm.
feel about the inside trap versus wedge, especially at the youth level. I definitely rather wedge. So I was just writing down here, getting back to the elite kind of calls that we would use at elite, maybe at an elite 8U, rec 9U. And I get it. I start putting a lot of stuff in, and we force our guys to kind of learn it. And the one thing I think youth players and youth coaches forget is youth players are sponges, and you've got to rep it and put it, put it out there and figure out. I go overboard and then come back because I want
Yes,
to see how far I
absolutely.
can take
Yeah.
them.
Yep. See how much they can process and then cut it back when you
Yeah,
hit
when
too
they look
much.
at
They
me
can't
like,
process anymore.
"Oh, I need to go to jaw because God's not getting it." It's like, yeah. So I've got
Right.
jaw block, which is our first install always. Because I go simple to sophisticated with all the stuff that I do. I want to make
Mhm.
sure, because a lot of bot guys are like, why do you just install down block for the first scrimmage? And I'm like, well, if we can't down block, we can't really do anything else. So
Yeah, we're in trouble. This is gonna be a long year
yeah,
if
so
we
I want to
can't do
make
that.
exactly. I want to make sure we can do that. Then I'll progress probably to God or golf, which is gap on free to hunt kind of thing, which is just a good overall really blocking call, especially if you've got more than two linebackers. Golf really comes into it because you really want to get to the second level. God is really good when you're in a 70 or a 6'2" kind of blocking. But once you get three and four linebackers, you need to get off to the second level with your offensive line. Then we got the pass pro. So that's three or four there. Uh, we like to do a lot of ISO stuff with our power eye and our fat cat kind of things. So we'll split block, BB split, which I learned a lot as a
Mhm.
kid.
Mhm.
So, you'll split and then send two backs or one backs through on the linebackers. So we'll do a lot of split. And split is really a jaw for half the line and then a kind of jaw out on the other half. So it's actually not hard to teach because it's kind of like that. So you can visually show them what that looks like. And then we have kind of a simple zone, which is just a SAB, severe angle block, Roger, which is right, or Larry, which kind of works out to almost a zone kind of thing if you kind of put in four-step hunt on that. So So those are 6 calls that I can probably install for an 8U elite team if I really wanna go crazy, and I'm probably using 4 really, hard. So that's what I would say for a progression as far as an 8U lineman of what he needs to learn rule-wise and what we're gonna try to accomplish, and then you've got your pulling stuff that you wanna add to that, but, as far as technique, I think that's as whatever you know and feel comfortable with and what they can learn as the technique. I still really count on a lot of down blocks, you know, hands in the breastplate, and then we're getting at the hip level and under the elbow kind of thing. We do all kinds of funky things with that. And then if we're having a really tough time, we'll crab and scramble them at the thighs.
Mm.
So those
Yeah,
techniques work really good.
that's the same at high school, and I don't know that we crabbed a whole lot. We cut some, but not a ton, and, we worked on down blocks, head in front, and then work your hips through the hole,
Yep.
and, I mean, reach block was something we did some, like, for toss, and that was something we worked a lot competitively, and the guys liked it. It was fun. We had a cool competitive drill for that.
Yeah, let's talk about reach because a 10U guy was talking about he had trouble this week of with his tight ends reaching the outside contain guys. And I was like, man, I remember in high school, I was a fullback, so I was having to log, read, seal, all kinds of stuff from the backfield. That's a hard block is to reach and get outside and do that. So I was like, man, just nasty, split your tight end or pull in your wing back and kick or do that with a fullback. They try, then or seal. Sorry, yeah. So, try to seal him if you can versus trying to get a tight end to kind of hook around. I mean, send the tight end after the linebacker. I mean, what do you feel about this reach at like 10U? I found it hard in high school. You were a
Yeah.
lineman in high school and
Yeah.
college. So how do you feel about that?
It
'Cause he said it
it's
was a
something.
9 it was a wide 9.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean,
That's
that
tough,
that
right?
play's
Yeah,
gonna cut. I mean, that play's gonna cut inside. Our
yeah,
simple coaching point is you open with your first step, and the depth of that first step depends on the width of the defender. And
right.
you try to put your second step in his crotch, and then you're just trying to get him
Hook
to
yeah, hook it.
reach him or make him widen.
Right.
And that was the coaching point for that. So that's how we did that. And that's how I was taught in college, and that's how I've kept it just going forward. Um, Now, even at youth level, that's the same way we've taught it at 10U
Yeah.
is to do that. So um, it's been fun to see how it translates, right? So you get like the same coaching points in Division 1 football are translated into a 10U football team. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the last point you made on that is that you're gonna get there and the back is probably going to cut underneath that because 'cause you're probably gonna just drive them. You're not gonna actually get the hook to get outside that you're probably
Yeah,
gonna cut under it.
you're gonna have to, and just read it. We just tell the back like if just run off his butt. Like if he's got him reach, just keep going. If not, cut and get what you can. Um, because that's one of those plays too. If you're good at toss, it really helps you with your gap scheme stuff. Like really, really helps you. And those are two things I've always carried. Three things I've carried like a gaps, like a down block, a reach block, and a wedge. And you
Right.
put those three in a scheme, plus your pass protection, which for me has usually been full slide. Um, that helps you have more plays. You can hand the ball to more people in a different look if you keep the blocking schemes relatively similar
Well, I'm glad that you
or simple.
said
Excuse me, not similar, simple,
I'm glad that
simple,
you
not
said
similar.
full slide because that's been coming up a lot in my forum. I'm not that great with it. So, can you give us your 5-minute pass pro slide? Educate us all because you're the college athlete here.
Oh my gosh. So you're just going to the backside gap. So if you're like, let's say we're sliding left, you're the left tackle, you're going to the C gap, the guard's going to the B, centers to the A, right guards to the A, right tackles to the
Okay.
B, and that you're just taking what comes. and keep your shoulders square, like to the front side of it, and
Right.
then you're kick sliding. The center doesn't really kick slide anymore. It's a shorter slide. It's not really a kick slide, but the guard and tackle are kick sliding for the width, and there you go. And you have your pocket, and you're sending the backs to the edge, and it's simple. They can blitz all they want. They can send whatever they can put it in whatever front, but you have every gap picked up, and then you can run, your quick game, or you can run deeper routes, but your protection stays the same.
So are you normally sliding to play side the way the quarterback's going, or you're going back? Are you going opposite of that, or vice
So we
versa?
like to go away from like where the quarterback's throwing, so the backs go to it.
So the backs
Um,
go to right. So the skilled players are
mhm.
going to with the quarterback, and then they
Mhm.
can leak. I would assume makes it
Uh,
easier.
some years we've just been 7-man protection. Like y'all ain't going out. Y'all aren't going out for a
Yeah.
route.
Okay.
Like, we're going to throw it to 3 or 2 receivers or one. And now, if we want to get more guys out, we'd be like in a boot game. So we would, quarterbacks faking one way, then we're going naked or with a guard away from the action. That's been our thing.
So the slide, that first step, is it just totally lateral, or you're not gaining any depth at all, or you actually kind of bucket back?
Shoot. So if you're like the backside of the protection, you are getting some width because you have to protect the quarterbacks. Well, you have to protect the width of the pocket.
Okay.
But if you're the front side, like the side that the quarterback is looking to, you are flat or a little bit upfield, like a step upfield, because you don't want any penetration
Okay.
in the quarterback's face. And the backs are going to the edge right now.
Right.
And um, I've carried half man, half slide too, like when we're in some kind of spread, 2 by 2, 3 by 1. But full slide is the ticket for me as an O line guy because now they can bring whatever blitz they want. They can be whatever front they want, and you have it all picked up because you're gap sound.
So have you done where you're like you make the pass pro wall on the backside where everybody kind of falls back, and then you make
Hmm.
that wall on the back, and then he rolls play side? Are you
So
doing that too?
what's interesting is I've seen people do that, but what I've always done is I just have them reach the front side, and then they fall back on the backside. So like
Yeah.
they
So they
form the
fall right.
wall on the
Yeah.
backside.
Yeah.
And I tell them it's a reach block, just don't go downfield. That's the coaching point. So like
Yeah.
we're running sprint out protection, it's a reach block to the front side, just don't go downfield. And then the backside is step to your play side gap, nothing's there. Then you like almost backpedal to pick up anything
Right.
off the edge.
That's great. So I know when I've done zone and kind of these things, I've always had, and it's probably because the athletic or non-athletic center guards that we have, I always seem like an A gap in this, one of the A gaps, usually play side A gap. We're getting crushed, and other guys are getting crushed because of the penetration from that, because the center is slower in his movement, right or left, and so there's this hole here that defenders that are sitting in A gap can take advantage of, especially on his snapping arm. So what have you done to overcome kind of this A gap problem? Because I've always seemed to have that.
Mm. Just work your center snapping and stepping at the same time. I mean, that's really nothing else to do. Like he has to work on snapping and stepping. And it's good if he does his drills while he snaps. So like bring a ball with him to individual. So he's working all his steps with a ball because his job's different than the rest of the guys.
Right? Yeah, it's
So
it's a lot
I mean,
harder.
got to have him with the football as much as possible and just working that fundamental.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's where a lot of us don't have that athletic center that can make those steps. And I know for me, I'm not going to put my best athletic O lineman at center because probably want him at tackle. And so you've got that slower center. So we've sent backside guys going across to pick up the A, or we'll just send a fullback buck to deal with that A gap. You're kind of wasting an extra lead, but so anybody that's having trouble with that A gap leak because of that zone or whatever, and most pros are sitting that wing back across, right?
Eh, it depends on what they're trying to do, really. Are you trying to secure the backside, or do you want them to the front side? And then you're faking to a back who's on the backside. I've done both. and it just depends on what concept are you trying to run,
Right.
and that's just kind of the way that I've seen it done. Doesn't mean it's the only way to do it, but I've seen
Right.
most of the time it's been like everybody's play side, the back you're faking to is backside protector, and that's
Right.
usually the way I've seen it run.
Yeah. Yep. So that's kind of where we've protected that if we've put it in, but I've just had so much trouble at the youth level trying to actually zone because of the center guards. I don't have that talent there to pick that up. So let's see what else. Let's see. So yeah, I think the center you brought up and him stepping and sliding. Did you ever snap? Have you ever played center?
Oh yeah, I was an all-state center in high school, and I
Oh, well,
played
there it
center in
is.
college. Yeah, yeah. There you
So
go.
everybody's always asking me about this. Well, I'm interviewing you today, if that's okay.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Since you were like this godlike center,
oh
let's
my
hear.
gosh, jeez.
Let's hear. First, I'd like to ask because I played center, and I think is it a God given talent? Is it just reps, reps, reps? Can you learn
Mm.
it, or is it a combination of both? What do you think about that? What's your
So the best centers I've known, and I kind of I'm not that I'm some great player or anything, but they're guys that played baseball or can throw a football well.
Yeah, I will
So
agree with that. Yes.
you have to like if a guy can't throw a football, he usually can't play center well. Um,
Right.
so I think that goes hand in hand. And I know some people have different thoughts on this. Some people put their worst lineman at center. I don't. I think you sometimes you can put your best there depending upon what kind of scheme you run. But if that guy's good and he can single block a nose, that frees up a lot of blocking elsewhere. And that's been my experience. And you want a guy that's smart, right? That knows how to block different fronts. Now you can make his rules really simple, but it's good if he can tell the guy next to him sometimes where he's going. And
Yeah.
that's been something that you see at the pro level, like the center, or even the collegiate level. The center declares who the mic is, that kind of stuff. But I think if he's a decent athlete and he can throw a football, you got a shot, and you got to teach him how to snap and step, and that's a very key thing.
Yeah. Did you play baseball?
I did in little league, and I got cut from my middle school team, and I quit playing. I
Yeah,
quit playing after my seventh
I
grade
was a
year.
little league pitcher and catcher, so that's interesting that you say, baseball, because I could always throw a football too,
Mm,
not accurately, but pretty far. So that's
mhm.
interesting, and I kind of agree with that. I mean, my son was a second string quarterback on my flag team because I got John Elwood Jr. 1 year that could
Oh
throw
my
like
gosh,
bombs
gee
at
whiz,
8U. It
that's
was
awesome.
crazy. And he was an amazing shotgun snapper. I mean,
Mhm.
they
I'm
just
sure he
have that.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
that's
have
usually
that
how that
knack.
works.
So what are so how many reps? I always get this question: how many reps a day, or should a center be snapping shotgun to be accurate?
Oh my gosh, I
What
don't
would you,
know that
is it
there's a
25 a practice? Is it 50? What is
I
your kind of
I've coached guys that needed all 25 or all 50 or whatever you did, but if you can do it, you can do it. I mean, I don't know that you need like a certain number. It's just, hey, can the guy do it uh, effectively, and is he proficient, right? Does he have constantly have high or low snaps? And then what are you teaching the center? So like I used to tell our centers, if the ball is low, hold on to it longer. Like the snap's low, hold on to it longer. If it's
right?
high, let it
Drop your
go
butt
sooner. Yeah,
or
drop your butt, let it go
drop your
sooner, all
butt.
that kind of stuff. And there's tricks to the trade there, like make sure your hands always coming straight back, even when you're stepping to your right. Because a lot of times, if you're right-handed and you're going to your right, your hand drifts to the right, like in a
Yep.
shotgun snap. Uh, so there's just different tricks to that. Under center is different. Um, I've done both. Some years I've just done one. Some years I've just done under center. Some years just done shotgun. Just depends on your center and what he can handle and what your quarterback is good at too.
Yeah, that's kind of where we at with that. What do you think about the dead ball, the one hand and the two hand dead ball? I
Oh
did a
man.
video on two hand just trying to get a four string guy to learn how to snap, and I got ripped on the internet because I was doing that, even though
Mhm.
college, small college does it. But so, what do you think about the dead ball? And then you don't have to talk about the two hand, but the other
Oh,
techniques
man.
out there now.
I think people try to die on that hill. I don't think it's a hill to die on. I think that if do let your center do what he does well. If he's
Yeah,
a good dead ball snapper, let him do that. If he needs to grip it like he's going to throw the football, let him do that.
yeah.
Just keep it simple, man. Like what he can do and what he does well, just let him do it and don't overcoach that because that's
No,
a
yeah,
critical
I
part of the
totally
game.
believe that. I think there's a little God-given drive, competitiveness, in that you can learn some of it. But I really think the good ones, like you said, they're good throwers and they've got a competitive heart. You can trust them and they're
Mhm.
smart.
Mhm.
You know, and
Mhm.
it's funny, I've had some weaker players who were really smart play there because they could shotgun snap naturally. And it
Absolutely. Yes.
works because they're naturals and you got to deal with the guards to make sure, they've got some help there. So you can do that if a weaker player and he's a beautiful shotgun snapper, that's a great place for them to
Mhm.
play, except when you want a wedge, I will transfer in my big tackle to
There you go. I like that. That's cool. So you trade your center out.
I will trade my center and I will also move, I call it wedge tackles. All the beefier guys come inside, the lighter guys go out. That works great.
That is interesting. I had
Yeah,
not thought of that. Okay.
it works great.
Hmm.
Works
That's
really
cool.
good.
Do you find that to be a tip off or you just don't care at that
No,
point?
they
It's
don't
more
even
than
see it,
an
not in
edge.
youth. I mean, at college or high school when you've got real scouting going on, but at
Mhm.
youth football, it happens so fast. Because
Oh, that's
we've got,
beautiful.
our wedge calls wild weasel, honey badger, pink unicorn. So we'll just call that because it's usually a short yardage thing, and we're just running to the line in a no huddle. So when you do
Mm.
that, they can't really pick it up that fast.
Mhm. Yeah, that's so good. So I love how all your calls are just words. That's really neat to me. I like that.
Yeah, yeah, thanks. Yeah, and it's mostly the kids. I'll ask them, "Hey, what do you want to call this?" So you hear a lot of that. Of
Right.
course, the honey badger came from the video, right? Because the honey badger doesn't. Have you
Yeah, I
seen
mean,
the
that's
video?
I have. That's a throwback a little bit. That's a couple years ago, right? I think was that a couple years ago, the honey
Yeah, a long
badger one?
time ago. Long time ago. I got a couple of things here. I don't know how much time you have. A couple of things I wanted to say is a lot of coaches are asking me. They're blitzing my A gaps. They're in a stack. What do we do? I have a cannon call for center. See cannon, where the center and the two guards will crab scramble block there and cut that. You can cut probably 5 people off if you do it right. Keep your butt
Mhm.
high in the air in a sideways bear crawl crab. And then if we get a total 3-3 stack or a 4-4 stack and they're coming, then you're doing the domino, which is all everybody does it. So those are 2 calls. Have you used those before?
Yeah, we've used actually we called it domino too. So everybody down.
Yeah,
Everybody's
everybody
blocking
down.
down.
Yeah, everybody's going down.
Wedge it. Those are the two big things in high school. You can down block it, wedge it, reach it. Those all work. Um,
Yep.
yeah, because if they're in the A gaps, then if you bust it through the line of scrimmage, usually it's a big play because they don't have any kind of pursuit at the second level because that's usually two linebackers blitzing something of that nature.
Yeah, if you hit the
Uh,
C gap, you're probably gone at that
you're
point. It's
probably gone because they
on
don't have an
real.
inside out second level defender,
Yeah.
and you got it's all the way to the secondary, and if they can beat a secondary guy, then it's probably a touchdown, which is good. We like touchdowns.
So you're a parrot power guy. Another question I get asked a lot is gap splits. I'm pretty close at 3 to 6 inches unless I do something at the hole where I may be 3 feet or 4 feet. But I'm pretty, foot to foot, especially at guard center. I'll do some crazier things as I move out. But what is your take on gap splits?
I've coached in offenses where we had what we call dollar bill splits. Like we didn't say foot to foot, it was dollar bill. Like a dollar bill could fit between your feet,
Yeah, I
and that's
call it
it.
bear crawl, bear
There you
claw.
go.
It's like that wide. Yeah.
Yep, I
Have
like it.
you have you done the 3 foot everybody's in mega splits? A friend of mine just wrote a book over at coachparker.org,
Oh,
by the way, called Mega Splits.
nice.
where
I have not.
he talks about kind of how the uh, the old split T kind of mega splits worked when you ran a split T. So it's kind of that thing, and it's pretty interesting. He's done well with that.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think that stuff's good. I just don't know how to coach it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? They
you
put
got
a
to.
guy in the gap. What do you do? How do you adjust to it? I just don't know the adjustments to it, so I don't feel comfortable
Yeah, that's what his book
doing that.
goes through. There's a whole. You really have to commit to it and get through it. We run super splits every now and then, but we'll do them at the hole, like a sloppy tackle split or nasty, excuse me, tight end split. And that works really good, but it's very controlled. We know what's going to happen there and why we want that to occur. Doing it on your whole offensive line is pretty risky, but he's gotten away with it. What are your thoughts on pulling versus unbalanced or pulling with unbalanced?
Phew. We've pulled with unbalance before as like a goal line play,
Mhm.
but a lot of times you go unbalanced. You're using somebody from the backfield to kick and wrap. So you're using
Right.
like a fullback to kick
That's
out,
what
another fullback to insert. Or if you have three, well, if you have three, like in the beast, you have one kicking and two inserting.
right.
That's what I find is better in unbalanced because when you get unbalanced, that distance for the guard to pull becomes greater, and you can run into some issues with that as
Yeah.
far as getting him into the hole before the back gets there.
Yeah, that's because I know a lot of guys are running double wing a lot of times, and I haven't looked at your double wing book that you sent me, but when we don't pull, we'll go unbalanced, and it works out pretty much the same way for us. And a lot of coaches at youth don't catch that. So that was good there. And then I wanted to say something a lot of people ask me, and I tell linemen this all the time is, like they'll ask, what's a good block to you? And how do you define a good block? And I would say he never touches the running back. That's the first thing, and he's out of the way. So there, but we're looking for our blockers to get a hold of two people. We want them to help get that first level, whoever, and then put him on his butaki, or he's shoved him back into the other linebacker and picked that up. And so that's what I call a great block is when you're a lineman and you have basically got in the way of two people that have not touched my running back. What do you think about that?
I think that's it. I mean, you're knocking the guy back into the second level, and then the back can cut how he needs to cut. And
Right.
I think also another point of that is blocking the right guy. Like,
Well, yeah, yeah. We
please,
talked about that
like,
last time. Like who to block. That is the key.
right. So you can do that to a defender, but if it's the wrong guy and the play gets blown up, we have a problem. So it does go with, hey, your assignment's correct, and then your technique and your effort and all that stuff is good too.
Yeah, we've also put this because we're always trying to make sure and a lot of guys I don't think they think about this. We want to make sure we get the first level blocked so we can get our 3 yards, at
Yes,
least get out of the
absolutely.
backfield. And then we get to the second level and we tell our linemen, look, help Chip, then go find Mikey, which is a linebacker. So
Nice. I like
so
that.
you
Okay.
gotta help one of your two guys. So help Chip, and then let's go get Mikey. So that
Mhm.
helps them remember, I can't just pull off of here. Even if there's a free reign, I'm always telling those guys, when you free reign off, can you shove that guy, inside guy, or whoever's close to help your friend out and then go get that linebacker? Because we had so many times a guy will peel off and then that tackle will stun around and he's hitting the hole for us. So we we want to make sure we get that there. So yeah,
Absolutely. I
a couple
mean,
little things.
block block the down guys, and then that gets you 3, and then you block the linebackers, you got a good night if you can block both those. You're you're gonna have a good night offensively.
So I had one more thing. What are two offensive line drills that you like?
Oh my gosh. So, I like our reach drill, which is 2 guys trying to reach each other. So they're going one direction, one's, like, going right, one's going left, and you're trying to reach each other, and if you get them reached, get them like, work your hips to the hole, you have them hooked. I think that's a really good drill for reach blocking, and then for drive blocking, I put them on like a line. It's like a 10-yard line, 5-yard line, whatever, wherever you do your offensive indie, if you're practicing on the game field. And the drill's quick. So it's a Oklahoma drill, air quotes, but you're just trying to get your feet across the line. So whoever gets their feet across the line's the winner. So you can get a lot of reps in like a drive block situation and a reach block situation in those two drills, and it's highly competitive. I mean, you're coaching technique, but you're getting a ton of reps and you're getting guys to compete and make it fun. And those are my two favorite O line individual drills.
Yeah, you got to draw those up, and get those to me so I can post those because
Oh, I will for sure.
that reach drill is very, very interesting to me. We do a drive block kind of drill like that. It's called a box where we've got it's about a 3 yard, 2 yard kind of thing. Lineman's heels on a line, they're facing each other, and we try to have them block each other out of the box, and they meet each other in the middle. And
Hmm.
what that drill is teaching us is what lineman is not moved off the line.
Oh,
Because a
yeah, I
lot of
like
guys will
that.
just
Okay, yeah,
stand
yeah,
there
yeah.
and wait.
Right.
So
Yes,
this
absolutely.
drill will tell you who's moving, who's got forward movement. So that's always a good drill to do. And then of course I love when we do kind of our squad 3-on-3 things. We'll have like a center guard tackle work together and then guard tackle in. And so they will do drills where they're down blocking or whatever rule blocking as a group. So they start to understand how to work together and communicate together. So those are
That's
two
really good. I
drills
like that.
that I really like too. So, well, I think we've knocked blocking. I'm sure there's a ton of other stuff that guys out there you
Yeah, this is
probably
really
want to
good.
know. So leave those in the comments. Let us know, and we'll think about doing a part three in the future. But I think we've have we left anything off? I'm sure we have, but can you think of anything?
I don't. I think this has been great, and we'll be back at it again next week.
Sounds great. Sounds really good. Look forward to it. Remember to play for fun and when it's funner.
Amen to that.